Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, it's the Above the Bar podcast show, and it's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar here. It is January 21st, and look at that. I actually got the show to start exactly at 8 p.m., so I did pretty good already here. So joining us in one of the most wild, untamed lands across the country, completely desolate, never all these other adjectives that I can think of that none of which are true. But we're going to be talking about, is franchising right for you? How do you determine if franchising is right for you? And who better to do it than somebody who actually has literally written the guide on it? So joining us, and I'm not going to butcher his last name, so he's just getting his first name because listen, as a good Sicilian with a completely Irish name, I butcher names very well. So joining us all the way from New Jersey, we're going to be talking about franchising. And if I can get to all my sound effects, because God, my media day is already shaping up. Everybody knows how this works around here because you'll enjoy this. It is Mr. Giuseppe, the franchise guy.
Awesome. I appreciate that intro. That was awesome. And I didn't know you were Sicilian, so I like you even better. I am as well. So we're off to a good start.
And there's a thing about that, isn't it? Like, I'm not Italian.
Yes, some people get pretty touchy. They're Sicilian, right? It's like a separate country.
Well, it's one of those weird things I tell folks, like, and people are just like, I was the kid who suffered through being blonde, like towhead blonde with brown eyes, going to a Catholic school in Baltimore with everybody's last name ended with an O or an I, or they were either like an Italian I or a Polish I at the end of their name, and being like, I'm Italian, I'm Sicilian, or I'm Italian, and they're like, shut up, no, you're not. Your name's Sean Patrick Murphy.
Yeah, and I'm Murphy like, fits right in.
Oh, right in there. And unfortunately, because and then it's like my grandmother was Tortilla Moranto, my great grandmother was Rose Valenciano.
Oh wow!
I mean, like straight up, on all that, but that is neither here nor there. So we're going to be talking about franchising and is it the right choice for everybody? How do you determine if franchising is right for you? So as always, folks, let's go ahead and get some house cleaning done here, and then we're going to get into it with Giuseppe. Giuseppe, real quick, do you have an uncle named Nunzio? You gotta have one.
I do not. I got Vito's. I got Sal's.
I got a Nunzio. So real quick here, folks, as always, over my right shoulder, it's the big board for Sticker and a Cause. You have something you believe in, something that you support, something you want other people to know about. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those different places. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you got going on. We'll go ahead and let everybody else know what you got going on. Something that can be shared around with everybody. Put that sticker up there. Also, we got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here. Giuseppe's going to be familiar with them. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, and Clifton Park. North America's #1 custom window treatment company. They handle everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, even do tint, folks. A lot of people don't know they do tint. So reach out. If you're here in the capital region, they're having a sale this month. It's 20% off product, another 5% off if you motorize it. And as always, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off your entire order. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Clifton Park, and Delmar, your #1 custom window treatment company. Giuseppe, do you have custom window treatments?
I do.
See that? Hopefully you bought it from a Budget Blinds. All right. All those things are done and ready to go. So tell everybody a little bit about you, brother. How long you been in the franchising world?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So 20 years in franchising. Started off 20 years ago. Got out of corporate America, worked on Wall Street. So I was the miserable corporate executive, commuting in total 5 hours each day in round trip. So 5 hours a day into New York City to a job that paid well, but just, wasn't really for me. So decided I needed a change. But prior to that, my family owned, guess what, an Italian restaurant. And I cut my teeth there. I learned the business. Had an auto detailing business on the side. Always loved, being an entrepreneur. Just didn't know what that business, that ideal business was. So actually worked with a coach back in 2005. And that coach said, hey, there's a franchise coach said, hey, you got options. It's not just fast food when you think of franchising. And we started exploring various franchises and did that for many years. And it was in the building services space.
Okay.
And said, you know what? I really like the coaching space. I'd like to help, people get into business ownership, and been doing this ever since.
That's interesting. So we got to go back to the restaurant for a minute. I got to ask a question. What do you have a personal go-to Italian meal? Like, you go to a restaurant, you've never been there before. Like, what is the one or two dishes that you're like, I'm ordering this to determine, like, is this a legit, or is this like nobody's Italian grandmother came up with these recipes?
Yeah.
Do you have like the two dishes for you?
I don't eat a lot of Italian out because just from growing up and owning the restaurant, but one is pasta alla norma, which is eggplant marinara, and ricotta salata. For anyone knowing what that is, it's just a dried, saltier version of regular ricotta cheese. And then I would say shrimp fried diavola, just a spicy marinara. Those are kind of my go-tos if I do eat Italian out. But that's like one of the few types of cuisine I don't eat out just growing up, and nothing compares to mom's dishes. So it's hard. I'm always like, mom makes it better. I'm always disappointed. So if mom is listening, it's a compliment, mom.
Well, it's funny. My dad was the exact same way. We would go to Italian restaurants and everything. Like, I would be like, I really like the food here. And my dad would just be like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
But for me, it's eggplant rollatini. Like, if you can do a solid eggplant rollatini, you may win me. And ossobuco.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, that's the one. Like,
yeah.
like don't come to me as like you're like grandma's not making ossobuco.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna call yourself a good, like, legit Italian restaurant, I should be able to get an ossobuco and like be like, okay, this is legit. This is.
I haven't had that since I was a kid. You mentioned, now I'm craving that. My mom used to make that. I haven't.
Did she
ordered? No, I haven't had it.
Ossobuco.
Yeah,
dude, that, like, your mom's legit. Then, like, I'm giving. Like, I don't know you.
Not often. Once in a while.
But still, I don't know of anybody growing up. Like, my great grandmother was like breads and cookies and like pastas and a lot of that kind of like very Sicilian stuff. But she, like, I've never heard anybody in the house be like, yeah, Grandma Rosie was making ossobuco. She was not. That's pretty legit, man. I have to give you that one.
Not an easy one.
So then what was, you said you were in the home, you said it was the home services business for your franchise?
We did building services. So we maintained properties in Jersey, we cleaned, painted, restored hardwood floors and things like that. So it was a business that was really kind of working with property managers across the state.
Okay. Now, when you got into and I always like to talk about the franchising world. Most people have listened to the show know that I own the Budget Blinds. Those are my franchises. I've got 5 of them. But for you getting into that oh, no, you left, Rachel. I thought you were going to stick around longer. But for you, what was your coach's process for getting you into franchising? And what was it about it? Because I think there's a lot of different interpretations, but what was about the franchise? And you were like, oh, cool, I can do this.
Yeah. So basically it was, we first started off at that, Subway was the big franchise back in the day, 20 years ago. What do you want this business to look like? And the first thing coming from Wall Street, so we kind of worked in reverse, and that's my process. Let's instead of looking at the 4,000 brands that are out there, let's figure out what this ideal business looks like, because it can get overwhelming. And it was recession resistant. It didn't have to be sexy. I didn't care what business line we were in, as long as it made money and it was recession resistant. And most people say, well, what do you mean? Don't you have to be passionate about the product? And my answer is no. I don't know anyone that is really passionate about window coverings or cleaning or building maintenance, right? So it's one of those that as long as it made money and there was demand. This was going back 2007, so we know what happened in 07, 08, the economy, the market. So I wanted something that will do well in up and down markets and economies. So we started there, recession resistant. I wanted to be under an all-in $200,000 investment. At the time, was pre-approved, did everything, was proactive. Quit my job to find out the bank thought I was keeping my job throughout the whole process. Ended up getting denied. I won't mention that bank, but I refused to do business with them since then in 20 years, even though I stated I'm doing this full time. So I had to go about getting a family loan. So those are two characteristics: recession resistant, under 200,000, and I didn't want this big storefront like we had with our restaurant was, I believe, 2,500 square feet. Oh, wow. I said I want to work from home or have a small office, and we ended up having a small office. So those are kind of some requirements. Actually, we kind of switched gears and said, well, what do you bring to the table? And I said, well, we've owned various businesses, but I'm, sales, networking, things like that. So we also looked at what my role would be, full-time in a networking capacity. And a lot of people fall in love with the product, but they're very introverted and can't handle that specific role. So we started there. Those are kind of the 4 spots. And then obviously we wanted something close to home. So we wanted to make sure there was availability in the market. So actually those are the kind of the top 5 things we started off with and then started scaling down from there.
I like that. I like that approach. And it's interesting that you're easily admitted that, because I tell people all the time, like, I didn't set out going window treatments.
Right.
That is my passion in life. Right. Because the reality of it is I wouldn't have needed a franchise to do that, because I would have already just found a way to do it on my own. I mean, it's just the reality of how life works with those kind of things. But I like the fact you're like, it made money. What did you think about the fact that it already had a system in place? Was that anything that mattered to you, or you were like, no, our families run these things. I don't need a system.
Systems were huge, right? Because the reason I went franchising is I didn't want to create the wheel. So when I talk about franchising, I'll tell people it's an unfair advantage. It's a business on training wheels would be the example I give. So you're not in business by yourself. You do have that franchisor that's helping you. So the systems were huge. So how to price, I had no clue. How to price a certain job, where to find vendors, marketing. I have never done accounting on my own using QuickBooks. It was my dad grew up. We had my dad would do it on graphing paper back in the day with little squares. So never had this system and chart of accounts. So I wanted something where it was plug and play. So literally, I paid the franchise fee, started trading the following week, and I was up and running, generating revenue within 30 days of signing the franchise agreement. Wow. Not a profit, but generating revenue. So quick turnaround. I did do it full time, and for people that can leave their job, there's such a difference. If you can run that business full time, you will scale it faster. You will learn it faster to the point where you can get maybe a general manager in place to run the day to day, so you can really work on scaling that business. So yeah, the systems, the support, I wanted all that, and I was happily paid the franchise fee and the royalty for that, because I knew I had someone in my back corner that was always there to help me out.
It's funny you mentioned that all these things you had never done, and the systems piece to it. I'm 100% with you on that. And look, folks, if you have any questions for Giuseppe, those of you that are joining us and just listening in here, please like and share and do all those things. And you can check him out at ggthefranchiseguide.com. Again, that's ggthefranchiseguide.com. But again, back to the systems piece, that for me was huge. One of the other things, and it was one of those things that I kind of knew, but I didn't know the numbers. is the rate of what would be the right way to put it? I guess rate of failure or lack of failure of franchises. You correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like 80% of franchises are still operating 5 years later compared to standard small businesses, that it's something like 80% fail in the first 5 years. What are those numbers? I don't remember them offhand. I know
I've heard the 80% amount, various sources. I've seen the numbers kind of all over the place. So I don't know if there's an exact number out there of failure versus success, but I've heard the 80%. At the end of the day, the franchise, there are plenty of strong brands, but you got a brand like Budget Blinds who we work with. They're a client of ours, and they've done well. They've grown. They're national. The problem with Budget Blinds is finding available market, because most of it's is sold. But just because you're successful at it doesn't mean I will be successful at it, simply because it may not be a personality match. I may require a lot more support or hand-holding or whatever the case may be. So really it needs to be that right fit for you. So I've had people buy franchises. They said on their own, they got into the agreement, talked to one franchisee, if any, and purchased a franchise. And I said, that's not deep enough due diligence. So I feel like some people have, gone into franchising and purchased the wrong franchise, or maybe the fit could have been better elsewhere with a different brand because they didn't dig in deep enough. You have people that I know are, the biggest thing is underfunding. They go a little bit aggressive on paying themselves right out the gate. Not making sure, when you pay yourself aggressively, you're taken away from somewhere else. And maybe they're kind of suffocating their marketing spend. I've seen that as well.
Stay on that for a second. I want you to stay on that because I think that's another thing that for franchisees, they lose the fact that local area marketing, for the most part, is your responsibility. Unless you're buying a McDonald's or, a big monster international brand.
Right.
Most marketing is your responsibility within a franchise model. Is that your experience?
Yeah, it depends on what's included. So it's a combination. I call it kind of a group effort. So you have companies that will handle all the marketing, especially in home services. So we'll stick with that. There's thousands of brands in that space. And, window coverings, painting, roofing. The franchisor may handle all the marketing for you, both at a national and local level. They'll have that national spend. Maybe it's 1 or 2% if the brand is large enough. And then they may have another amount that they're charging you for that local spend. Part of that local spend, from the franchisee's kind of standpoint, is to review it to make sure they're getting the returns. And I know you know this, making sure they're getting
I get zero local.
Okay. So oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Some will do it where, they're doing local SEO, and the leads are getting funneled to a call center, and the call center is answering the phones, answering questions, scheduling, in some cases taking payment. It's going to vary from one brand to the next. And then your salesperson or yourself are waking up every day to appointments directly on the calendar. Not all brands do this, but it is very common.
What brand is this?
We just got back from New Orleans, believe it or not, and we had 125 companies.
Was that the 5-star thing down there in New Orleans?
There is a 5-star going on around the same time. It was not. It was our Franchise National Conference. It's the group, the organization I'm part of, and we had about 125 brands. 5-star also had meetings kind of going on simultaneously. I think in Vegas. Yeah.
Well, a friend of mine was just in New Orleans for something. He's the gentleman who helped me buy my franchise. He's been on the show a couple of times. He actually doesn't live far from you at all.
Okay.
He's in PA, just outside in Bucks County. Patrick Donahue, and Patrick was
sitting behind me at the conference, and he was sitting behind me at the conference, and he also, I saw on LinkedIn today, spoke at the 5-star conference, which is separate.
So this is going to be funny. Then hold on a sec, because I just texted him and I went, "Hey, we're talking franchises. Hold on a sec. Let's see if he answers." This
That'd
is
be funny.
There is.
Well, it's Patrick.
Hello, Patrick. It's Sean. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you doing?
Wonderful. I don't see he may not be able he can hear you, but Giuseppe wanted to say hello.
Oh, hey, Giuseppe, how are you?
He said you were sitting right behind him at the conference.
It was.
So, I mean,
Small world, right?
he said small world. Should I keep him on the show and everything? Can he stay
Show's
on?
done.
Can he stay on the show, Patrick?
Can I stay?
No, can Giuseppe stay on the show?
Of course.
All right, I just want to get your approval.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that was funny. I just wanted to call and tell you that Giuseppe's on the show.
Oh, terrific. Enjoy. He's a great dude.
All right. Were you sleeping?
Yeah.
Okay. Go back to bed. I'll talk to you later. All right.
That's so funny.
That's
funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Well, that's who I bought my friend. That's who helped me get my friend.
Great guy. Yeah. He helped me. He got in a little bit earlier than I did. And yeah, he helped me quite a bit when I had first started. So good guy.
Well, that's why when you were talking about being in New Orleans, I was like, I know he was just in New Orleans for something. And then he was with the five
star was right after. Yeah, it was right after. Yep.
That is too funny. But I'm so it kind of digs into my next question is then what is your, so I know what his approach was. He had a very personable approach to find out about who I was as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And Five Star was one of the companies I talked to. They didn't work for me because I didn't like the idea of subcontractors.
Right.
And I needed I'm 20 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your process? Are you still, because I'm assuming you're still helping people find franchises,
Correct.
But what is your process if, Sean Murphy comes to you and goes, hey, look, man, I got a couple of nickels to rub together. I'm done with this employer. I need to go out on my own. What is Giuseppe's process in getting me to help me figure out what franchise makes sense?
Yeah, it's going to be very similar to Patrick. So we always start off with, learning a little bit about you, both personally, professionally, learning about, you mentioned served in the military, are you married, kids, where do you live? We start there. And why do you want to own a business? And people that tell me where I want to make tons of money, and I go, that's great. But, it's not that simple, digging a little bit deeper. What's your why? Why do you hear this all the time? And sometimes it sounds cheesy, but it's true. You need that really strong reason, because once you do make that decision, you will have great days. You will have bad days. The economy is going to be, as you know, up and down. You're going to need that constant reminder as to why you got into this. So we start there. We don't talk franchises. We talk about you. We talk about why you want to get into this. And the goal of that first call, which is typically 20 minutes, is, are we a good fit to work together? And there's that personality class, is it a good fit personally? And also, are you a good fit for franchises? Because I have people that tell me, I want to buy a franchise, but I want to recreate the menu at the restaurant. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I go, hold on a second. The point of the franchise is to follow the system. They make it easy on you. You don't need to recreate the menu at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. So we talk about there to see if the fit's there. And I say jokingly, but people get super excited and want to start changing up the menu. So once we have that conversation, say, yeah, you know what, it's probably worth a second call. That second call is really the deep dive. We talk about funding, because we want to make sure that people get super excited, but we want to make sure you have the means to be able to qualify and fund this project. We want to talk about your ideal day. If you're introverted and want to work from home, or you want that venue of a brick and mortar location like a restaurant, we want to figure all that out to make sure that the fit's there. Will your family be involved? I'm working with a family here in South Jersey. The kids are 16 and 17. They want the kids involved. It's going to be hard to get them involved in senior care, but maybe they can get involved. We're looking at a frozen yogurt franchise. So there are options where, we kind of check off all the boxes so that the fit's there. And we don't simply ask, you got these portals and they're like, well, do you want a restaurant? Yes or no. If someone says they want a restaurant, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper to figure out why. Restaurants aren't easy. We owned an Italian restaurant, not non-franchise. They're not easy. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of staff. There's a lot of variable costs. And most people, once you dig a little bit deeper, why do you want a restaurant? You find out it's one thing, and it's demand. Everyone's got to eat. So they figure the demand's there, but there's also demand for other things like water and smoke mitigation, restoration, business coaching, expense reduction. There's all these really cool types of businesses that are super recession resistant, maybe not as sexy, but they have that underlying demand that doesn't go away. If you want any proof, look back at 2020 during COVID. That was the latest stress test. We saw what did well, what didn't do well, what was essential, what wasn't. So look back to see what did well during that time, and you'll notice certain industries always stand out.
It's funny you mentioned that. And again, folks, for those of you that are listening to us live, we're talking to Giuseppe about, is franchising right for you? If you have questions about franchising, please drop it in the chat here. Also, give this a like, share, follow, all those kind of things. And you can check him out at ggthefranchiseguide.com. It's interesting you mentioned about the restaurant thing. Like, I think of all the franchising that's out there, to me personally, now this is me, you couldn't give me a restaurant in a franchise world. You couldn't beg. I mean, I try to explain to people like, hey, when the power went out the other day for about 12 hours, that franchise lost all of its stock and had to have somebody come back in and refill it. And guess what? There wasn't like, hey, can I get some free stuff? No. They had to redo that. Those videos that you love to watch of the guy getting yoked over the counter at McDonald's? Yeah, after that was over with, ownership and management had to deal with legal and everything else under the sun for that situation. To me, restaurants are like, it really takes a special kind of person to do that. I actually just saw, obviously this is your world. What was it? The largest owner of Popeye's chicken franchises just filed for Chapter 11. Like, they owned like 136 or 138 restaurants.
I saw the headline. I didn't read the article, but I did see the headline. Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, how do you jack up that much that you're like this is Popeye's, that's good chicken. Like, how do you jack this up? Like, what were you embezzling? Like, you had to be embezzling something.
Or, was it the competition? Was it the market? Was it accounting? There's so many different variables when it comes to that. Was there theft? You hear it over and over again. The owner is not there's no oversight. They're not reviewing the books. The books are crucial. Believe it or not, there are a handful of franchises out there that are offering full-time bookkeeping service. Yeah. That to me is the biggest no-brainer, because if your COGS are off immediately, you're not waiting until the end of the year. It's like you're growing the business, but you're losing money. So let's figure out what the issue is, and you'll get that red flag, like something is off here. So if you have a franchise that offers a bookkeeping service, there's a franchise in the restoration space called Voda Cleaning and Restoration. They offer bookkeeping service. To me, that's a no-brainer. We'll see what's out of line, and let's fix it now and not wait till you file at the end of the year. So, but some people love the foods. They love the food space. Some people love the food space, but not all the the moving parts. And believe it or not, there's food franchises that don't have a kitchen, which is kind of interesting. There's a company in New York. I think they're out of Buffalo, New York, called Project Lean Nation is a brand, and they offer nutritional coaching and guidance, and they ship the food directly to the franchise location, and they hand that out, so you can pick up a week's worth of food. You get nutritional guidance, you get the perfect portions, the perfect meal plan specifically for your goals. They don't do training like, let's go to the gym. They'll refer you to maybe a personal trainer in the area, but everything is portioned. You just have to, I guess, microwave the food and you're ready to go. No kitchen, 2 employees versus the revolving door and the large staff.
That's interesting. I could do that one. Like I said, that's always just been my big thing with once I started understanding the franchise space also. How about when people are looking, and it could be the individual, or when you personally are starting to, somebody's reached out to you and said, hey, Giuseppe, I want to franchise my underwater basket weaving business. It's going to be amazing. We're also going to have a sublet or a subdivision to it, hamster milking. I think it's going to be amazing. What are the things that, on either side of it, either as a franchisee or a franchisor, you've got 20 years experience. What are some of the things that immediately start setting your alarms off where you're like, time out, we got to figure out what's going on here?
So a business that wants to franchise their business.
Both. Or Sean comes to you and goes, yo, so Giuseppe, I got like $50. I think a franchise would be perfect. That's my Jersey accent.
Yeah, that's close enough. I mean, if you wanted to franchise a current business, I would always ask why. It's one way of expanding the business. It's not the only way. You can own 100% of your locations. You can franchise it out. Franchising is going to give you the opportunity, obviously, to expand rapidly across the country. You're not putting up the money the franchisee is. You're essentially reinvesting their franchise fee to get them up and running. There's different ways. You can go regional, stay to the East Coast, in and out, started on the West Coast. So you can kind of pick your battles as to how you want to expand and how rapidly you want to expand. The biggest question, the biggest advice I can give to anyone is that if you have this business that you want to convert into a franchise, why the hell would anyone want to buy this business? And you better be extremely clear, not just, well, we make, you mentioned Popeye, well, we have the best chicken in town. That's not enough. That's okay. Good chicken is great, but this one franchisee has lost all this money. What's the pricing look like? What's the support look like? What happens if I want to sell? What happens in this case? So really getting clear on who your ideal franchisee, your avatar is for the ideal franchise owner, what you're going to offer over and beyond what the competition is offering, and just how you're different. Especially if you're a brand new brand with one or two corporate locations, you're going to have a really good case as to first to market. We're going to do this. Maybe we'll give you a larger territory. We're going to support you. Once we go national, now we're going to have corporate sponsorship, corporate accounts, and things like that. So there's lots of benefits there, lots of options to growth, and franchising could be pretty amazing. But you want to have that team in place to really kind of guide you and make sure that there's legs to this franchise before you start paying an attorney to create this franchise agreement for you.
And you just said something that I mentioned on the show a lot, and I want to hear it from somebody else's perspective. Explain what an avatar is.
An avatar is essentially, who your ideal franchisee is. When a franchise is first starting off, we call emerging. They're newer. So sometimes they may have this avatar, and it changes, but usually you want to get this kind of your first 10 franchisees and solidify who this avatar is. So the avatar could be in a cleaning and restoration. So Voda Cleaning and Restoration was a brand we were talking about before, and they're looking for someone who's a mayor of the town. So if you're not comfortable networking and going out and talking with the chamber, regardless of what the service is, it may be a little bit of a struggle. Unless you have, someone or a partner that is able to really do that. So the avatar is really who's the ideal person. Maybe they were a corporate executive with 10 years experience. There's transferable skill set as sales and networking. Maybe it gets down granular to, we want someone that has a couple $100K liquidity and $1 million net worth. They know, because they know in something like restoration, you don't get paid right away. You're getting paid from the insurance. So they want to make sure you have that financial buffer to get you past the first couple months. So it's really who their ideal person is that does well. In some cases, you may have a couple different avatars depending on what that business model is.
I love that, because I'm always trying to explain to people, know your avatar, and they're like, I don't even like giant blue people.
Right.
Like, that's not what it is. They're a foolish one. And the other thing that you've kind of touched on a couple of times here is, I think a lot of people feel one of the barriers to franchises is a financial side. Like I remember when I was first looking, and I don't care, you can come for me. The biggest criminal franchise of all of them to me is Chick-fil-A. Absolutely a criminal organization. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, your franchise fee is $5,000 a year, but guess what? They own your building. You give them 50% of your gross, and you'll never have more than one. And oh, by the way, they will tell you where your franchise will be. You can't be like, man, I would love to open a franchise in Brunswick, New York. No, 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 no. Our next location is Tupelo, Mississippi. Hope you're looking to move. So to me,
It's almost like, to me, when I look at Chick-fil-A, it's almost like it should be called something else. It's really a partnership, because you have the entry fee. I know myself and others will make our money on the exiting the business. There's nothing to sell. So it is more of a low barrier entry when it comes to the investment, but there's nothing to sell at the end of the day. And you're still in that location 6 days a week.
yeah, you bought yourself a
Yeah, it's really what it is. I don't know how they, is it a franchise? Is it not? It's considered a franchise, but it's probably one of the few that I know of that is structured that way. Every other brand we work with is kind of structured the old fashioned way.
Well, I can't even imagine that they work with brokers. Like I actually looked into it when I was first retiring out of the Marine Corps, because they had some nice things for prior military. But then you start realizing they're like, you've had to have worked for Chick-fil-A for 8 years. You had to go wherever they tell you you're going to go. They own everything. You own nothing. And they even cap your salary. But I promise you, the CEO's salary is not. But yours is capped, and anything over that cap, they also take that.
So the moral of the story is, in part of if it's not a good fit, be okay walking away. You still have to get approved, which is why probably I don't believe they work with consultants like myself and brokers, simply because they have a very clear avatar. I never actually applied, so I don't know specifically what that includes, but I know it's very difficult to get approved. There's all these kind of steps, and if you do, you got to be there. There's no time freedom. You got to be at the location. So,
and the reason I bring that up though is a lot of people think that the barrier is financial, but I mean, we're not every franchise, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but like 7-Eleven for the longest time was like the number one franchise in the world. But they expected you to have like over $1 million some dollars of either, I don't know if it was assets or whatever it was, to open a 7-Eleven. Like they really had this huge number. And listen, nobody knows how people buy 7-Elevens. It's like, how did that dude get a 7-Eleven, man? Like, there's no way. But what's the truth in that barrier? Like, how can people figure out, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to break free. I want to fire my boss and get into franchising. What's some of the things that they need to look at from that financial standpoint?
Yeah. So don't look at it as a barrier. Kind of set the expectation of two numbers, right? What is the total investment I am comfortable with? That way you work within the brands that meet those numbers. And what am I willing from a cash injection standpoint? So I'll give you an example. A $200,000, we'll call it home services. We'll call it a painting franchise. If you go via the SBA, the investment will be $200 all in, which is, by the way, franchise fee. And everything to get you up and running in the first 90 days of operations. So expenses, payroll, marketing, all that kind of stuff. SBA, you're putting about 20 to 30% down. That's your cash injection, 40 to 60,000, and then getting a loan for the rest. So that's the funding piece. You can also use a home equity line of credit. You can also use, if you qualify, a retirement rollover, a rollover business startup, using qualified money, traditional IRAs, previous employer 401ks, not a Roth IRA. Roth IRA would not work in this case. But also there's two additional numbers, and those additional numbers are the franchisor is also looking for a minimum net worth number, which can include your home. Some brands omit the home, but for the most part, the home is included, and liquidity, because at the end of the day, the franchisor wants to know, what is the net worth? Do you have additional funds to access if the business takes a little bit longer to get up and running? That net worth and liquidity number is also used if you want to buy multiple 7-Elevens, multiple budget lines. They want to make sure you have the means to open up 3 locations over the next 18 to 24 months. So liquidity, net worth, know those numbers. Don't assume because you got 10K in the bank, you don't have funds. You may have $1 million sitting in a retirement plan. You're leaving your job, therefore opening up access to those funds. You don't have to use them all. You can use a portion of them, but getting your financials in order is crucial. We discussed that briefly on our first calls, and I do a direct introduction to Benetrends, and they'll do a free consultation, and they'll look at and say, and this is why I use them, and this is a big plug for them, for anyone listening in. What's your liquidity net worth? Let's show you how to properly calculate it. They'll get you pre-approved for an SBA government-backed loan. They can set you up for retirement rollover, but they can also give you advice outside their wheelhouse, like getting an unsecured loan if maybe the numbers don't match up, or that home equity line of credit, even a portfolio loan, getting a loan on your non-retirement assets. So you can, if you got 100K in NVIDIA stock, you could take a loan on that, if it's sitting in a non-retirement account. And that's not something Benetrends would offer, but you would go back to your financial advisor and keep the money in the market and just essentially take a loan on your own money.
And if you're wondering what Giuseppe's talking about with using your 401k, it's called a ROBS. It's a rollover for business. The only thing I will tell you with those folks is if you ever do a ROBS, and I don't know if you know this one, you tell me if you knew this already or not, Giuseppe, is you're basically buying stock in yourself, and it's great because it's an easy way to start it and you don't take a hit on your 401. Downside to it is if you ever sell that business, they do a business evaluation to make sure that the value is still there in the business, and you have to buy back your stocks. It's a whole thing. Because the reason I know this is the person that I bought some territories from, they're going through this process, and they've educated me, and I'm like, I'm kind of glad I didn't do that. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is helping veterans understand. And as a veteran myself, I didn't quite understand when people were like, you can get an SBA loan. I didn't understand this. I'm going to say it like this, and I'll let Giuseppe elaborate here in a minute. If you were a veteran and you do not take advantage of your SBA loan to just do so, I don't give a shit if it's to cut grass. You're a fool. They will offer you one of two. They have the initial one is $150,000 that once approved, they put the money in your bank account and they go forth and Godspeed, and you got 10 years to pay it back. If you need more than that, it's what they call a dreamer loan. It's a $350,000 loan. Upside, it's a lot of money. Downside is every time you need to purchase something. So if you're like, hey, I need to get an excavator, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you have to submit for it and get approval from, and I don't understand that one fully, if it's a board or what it is. But how amazing really truly is it for veterans getting into the franchise world? Because also, guess what, folks? Most freaking franchises want you and will give you a discount on your franchise purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, take advantage. I always say take advantage of everything. So full disclosure, you mentioned the Dreamer loan. Each company calls it something differently, but you're absolutely correct. It's different if you're buying a service brand versus brick and mortar. But Benetrends and Fran Fund, there's a few companies out there. We'll walk you through all that. But there's discounts involved. There's discounts from the franchisor. They usually discount the first franchise territory or location. We'll call it a license. You'll get that discount. I always say to remember to bring that up just in case it's forgotten. It doesn't come up. Not every franchise offers it. It's a bonus. Why not? Some of them are significant. I've seen numbers flat 20,000 discount on your franchise fee. So it is pretty amazing. But the approach for funding is, look at all the options so that you can choose the option that's the best fit for you. And part of that option is thinking 5 to 10 years out. So, for example, you're coming out of the military, you're a veteran. You're like, what's the next step? I'm going to go with the franchise. If you're looking at a we'll call it a budget blinds, and your plan is to own the entire market, maybe it's 5 territories, but you want to start small. You have that conversation with a company like Benetrends or with Patrick Donahue, right? Kind of figure that out, because there is a certain order you want to do things in. It may be starting off with the retirement rollover and then tapping into the SBA, or vice versa. So the person at Benetrends that you'll be working with will kind of walk you through the different scenarios. In many cases, the SBA, we had someone in northern New Jersey buy 3 territories of a Resto Pros franchise. They were able to tack on, the lender was able to tack on a line of credit. So he didn't have to go out and get a separate one. He's got the SBA with a separate line of credit in the event he has a big, warehouse clean where he's got to pay his staff and wait 30 to 60 days. So definitely explore them. But the SBA offers great rates depending on the type of business. They may be an equipment type of loan, that may be a different product, but it's good to have them all out there and then figure out the costs. Right? A portfolio loan, a loan on your own money, maybe less of a cost, but you also have to factor in if there's a margin call. So if you own NVIDIA stock and it drops by 30 or 40%, you may have to kick in some money to get it back to that 70% ratio. So look at all the aspects, look at all the costs, and you figure out what's the best bet. I talk with people all day long about the Rob. Some people don't believe in touching retirement, and that's okay. I come from Wall Street. I was told never to touch retirement. Knowing what I know today, I would have funded my first business with my retirement account, but I didn't know it was an option back then. And the last plug on Benetrends, if you get one thing out of this meeting, Benetrends actually created the rollover business startup with the IRS in 1978. So fun little fact, and it's legitimate. There's a lot of reporting. There are a lot of costs because if it's not set up correctly, if your uncle who does accounting on the side wants to set it up for you and you do not set up correctly, you will get audited. So make sure you have a professional setting everything up behind the scenes. But yeah, definitely SBA takes a little bit longer, but I would definitely entertain that for any franchise.
Don't touch my money. Here, folks, is that New Scotland last call. No gimmicks, just great whiskey. This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits, because in a world full of noise, your whiskey should be the realest thing in the room. Crafted in small batches in upstate New York, New Scotland Spirits delivers bold, smooth whiskey made from locally sourced grains and zero shortcuts. No gimmicks, no fake flair, just pure, honest flavor in every pour. So whether you're celebrating something big or just kicking back after a long day, make it a pour that's actually means something. Grab your bottle of New Scotland Spirits at newscotlandspirits.com. New Scotland Spirits, real whiskey, no comparison. So again, folks, we're talking with Giuseppe. If you want to know what he's got going on, go to ggthefranchiseguy.com. He'll tell you what he's got going on. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit there, Giuseppe. So I want to know what your and we'll call it restricted budget, because, listen, you could, rob Peter to pay Paul and you can get into something. What is your restricted budget franchise if you had to start one tomorrow that you were like, hey, I got 20K, I'm going to go start this one? And what is your no holds barred, I got the nut and I'm going to start this thing? What are your two?
All right. I'm going to start off with a brand new concept. So this is going to be the one that, it's probably looking at close to a 7-figure investment.
Patrick right now.
Yeah, right. We were in the same meeting, so he's probably talking about it. So really cool concept, the Ultimate Longevity Center, exclusive to FranChoice. We're the only organization out there that will be working with the brand, parent company, Sequel Brands. Longevity. So if you've heard of Tony Robbins, has partnered up with Gary Brecka, big name in the health space, and they are basically handling everything from supplements to red light therapy to you name it. It's all about extending not just the number of years, but the quality of those years. So they kind of take a look at everything. There's exercise, nutrition, you name it. It's basically a one-stop shop membership model. You go in, you go through the different therapies, vitamins, they do blood work, making sure you're getting the right ratios. Robbins and his company Life Force is partnering with Gary Brecka, and they're all partners in this. It's going to be one of the largest launches of any franchise that I've ever heard of in my career. We had Gary Brecka speak at the event, so it's exciting.
What are they saying? Like, hey, you have to have a net worth or liquid asset. What are they saying?
They presented today. I mean, you're probably looking at a net worth. I would say probably close to $1 million liquidity. And this is, I don't know the exact, but I would say at least a couple hundred, probably $250,000 if I had to guess for something like this.
And that sounds like someplace you're going to need like phlebotomists. You're going to need some people that have some actual real
medical. Yes, there's going to be a medical director on site. We literally just spoke with them at the meeting and briefly this afternoon. So there's going to be more information to come as this is brand new. No franchisees. This is a brand new franchise with the parent company Sequel Brand. So it's going to be pretty amazing. A lot more information to come, but I love it. I love the health space. I love the one-stop shop. I feel like a lot of brands touch on the exercise, but there's no nutritional coaching. And if there is nutritional coaching, it's like eat chicken and rice all day long. Well, what about my blood work? You know, maybe I'm really low in one area, and that's what's causing my fatigue and all my issues. So that definitely one that you'll hear a lot about if you follow Tony Robbins or Gary Brecka. On the flip side, you know, for something budget, you know, a lot of the franchise fees are all over 20 to 50, 60, 70K, you know, depending on the brand plus everything else involved. Brands that I like that are recession resistant, right? Remember when I got into business, that was the first thing I was looking for. There's a company called the Era Group, lower investment. It's going to all in. You're probably looking at, we'll call it, you know, low six figures, all in. And they work with small businesses in your market to reduce their expenses. And the consultation is free. And what they're doing is essentially splitting the savings in half with the business owner. So I'll come into your business. I'll look at every aspect of the business, and there's just, you know, hundreds and hundreds of different areas they can potentially save you money on. They'll go in, they'll negotiate with landlords. They may consolidate vendors. There's a story. I had them on our podcast where there was a company producing bread, manufacturing bread, and they found out for whatever reason, one of the ingredients, just one, was pharmaceutical grade. They switched the exact same ingredient, non-pharmaceutical grade. They were able to save that company over $1 million a year.
Wow.
This is definitely not the norm, but it's a really cool story because they're like, yeah, we used, and I don't even remember what the actual ingredient was. They're like, why are you using pharmaceutical grade? They said, we don't know. That's what we've been ordering, and we never really kind of noticed it. So they simply replaced it, saving $1 million, one ingredient, let alone all the other areas.
Heroin.
I'm sorry?
Was the ingredient heroin?
Yeah.
You
would think, they must be doing a lot of production, you know, for that one ingredient to save $1 million in raw material, right? This is not revenue. This is costs that they're saving, hard costs. So they're going in. So why it's sexy? It's one territory to invest in. You can cover the entire U.S. So if you're in New York or you're in Jersey, you can cover your state. You could do business across the country. You don't need staff. You don't need employees. You need a laptop. You need a vehicle and a phone. And that's really it. And you can partner with other franchisees. So if you are in, you know, the East Coast and they have another location in California and you don't want to fly out there, you can team up with the Era Group franchise owner out in California, and they'd be able to work directly with that client for you. So really interesting stuff. And again, it does well in up or down markets. People are always looking to save money.
Absolutely. How about your podcast? Tell everybody a little bit about your show.
Yep. It's Franchise Freedom. We started almost to the day 6 years ago. So back in 2020, January. And we talk about everything business related. You know, we talk about franchising. I have franchisors and companies like Budget Blinds on the show. We have accountants, attorneys, business coaches, people that help you, brokers that help you sell your business. So it's a real value add. I do a lot of one-on-one, kind of what I'm hearing in the franchise world, or I should say solo, not one-on-one, solo podcasts. And we just talk about things we're hearing. We talk about funding, changes with the tax code, how to take bonus depreciation, all that fun stuff. So if you own a franchise or not, it's a great starting point to learn about entrepreneurship, to hear about what's out there. And I also wrote a book, Franchise Freedom. I kept the names exactly the same. And it's a 50-page, we call it about a 30-minute read. It's my exact blueprint to helping you find a franchise. So if you don't want to talk to me out the gate, we offer a free download of the book. It's my exact process. Should you decide to do it on your own, or you can work with someone like myself or Patrick, where there is no fee to work with a consultant like ourselves.
Real quick, because we're almost about to close up the bar here. How about, and I know what's in my mind, but is there any one person that before somebody purchases a franchise, not necessarily a guide like you or like Patrick, but a person that people forget to hire, bite the bullet and pay that fee that they should have before they started their franchise?
A couple. You definitely want three people. I talk about it in my book. You want that CPA, or maybe there's not enough charge, but you need that person to keep everything in line. You want a local attorney in your state to set up your your estate planning, your successor plan if something happens to you, and then a franchise attorney. Franchise attorney may cost $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. They will do that full franchise review for you. So yeah, you definitely want someone to review the document. I recommend it to every single person I work with. You want to know what the red flags are. I mean, I've been reading FDDs for 20 years. They're confusing. So you want that professional set of eyes.
I was so hoping you were going to say franchise lawyer. That is the one person. I have one, and I'll plug him if you need one. Folks, contact me. Daniel's down in Texas. He's my franchise lawyer. There's not been a more valuable asset that I don't need to use all the time, if that makes sense. Like my daily accountant, she's super important to me. She's with me every day. I talk to her at least 3 or 4 times a week. But my franchise lawyer that I can go, read this 350-page document for me and tell me what the hell it says. He knows what to skip and what to go to and go, hey, Murph, you know this says that they get your firstborn and your small pinky toe on your left foot, right? I don't know what this says.
Very important, yeah. It's and by the way, it doesn't have to be local to your state. A regular attorney, yes. A franchise attorney really could be, we work with a few, they could be located anywhere. They're your eyes and ears. They know the verbiage. They know what could be negotiated. I highly recommend that to everyone. It's not that expensive in the long run, and they'll look out and work with you and making sure that, legally everything adds up. And if there needs to be an addendum added, but expect it not to really be changed too much. You just want someone to kind of review it and make sure everything is okay, and bring up any red flags if any come up.
And I'm going to give everybody my only piece of franchising advice when you're first starting. If they ask for a personal guarantee, and they will all ask for a personal guarantee, walk away. Walk away. Folks, you have a corporation for a reason. Mine attempted to ask that from me, and if you're a veteran, guess what? Can't ask a veteran small business loan for a personal guarantee. When they asked me for mine, they went, oh, wait a sec, we got to wipe that out.
Mm-hmm.
And that. I don't know what your feelings is on that, Giuseppe, but I'm going to tell you that to me is, I think should be, from a federal law standpoint, should be something that they say you cannot ask a business that has an actual corporation or an LLC. You cannot ask them for a personal guarantee. Then why the hell do you have a business?
The corporation protects you. And I don't know if you know this, but I found this fact out, or the stat: 1 in 6 franchisees are coming out of the military.
I didn't know.
1 in 6. And in my career, people I've helped, 1 in 5 have come out of the military. So success leaves clues. Coming out of the military, following systems, executing, they do great. So it's something to consider, and love to help anyone further discuss if they're on the fence or have a question. Our service is free, so feel free to reach out anytime.
All righty, folks. Again, if you're looking to get some franchise information, GG, you can see what Giuseppe's got going on. Make sure if you're finding us through Giuseppe, or Giuseppe through us, Give a like, share, and follow. Next week, we've got a gentleman coming on. His name is Ed Welsh. He's the founder of Tax Fighter Inc., a firm dedicated exclusively to helping individuals and small businesses resolve complex tax issues. A seasoned tax resolution specialist with over 30 years of experience in accounting, taxation. Ed has built a reputation around integrity, hands-on service, and a fierce commitment to client advocacy. So make sure you're joining us next week. We'll be talking to him. If you know me, my actual tax accountant will tell you, no one you will ever meet hates taxes more than I do. It is a criminal theft of our funds. The federal government and the states that with their taxes are a bunch of scumbags. I don't care. You can come on and get some. I think you're all a bunch of dirtbags and you're stealing from people money that you did not earn, and with a load of bullshit to say, well, you like your roads, don't you? Had roads before you guys. Have roads after you guys. Flat tax is the only way to do business. All right there, Mr. Giuseppe. Don't log off afterwards, as we do on every show. After I just got off my soapbox for that one, as we do in every show, the guest always gets the final word. So what is our final word for the night there, good sir?
Final word for tonight. Life's short. I'm 47 years old. Life goes by fast. There's a quote by Jim Carrey that says, if you can fail at something you hate, why not take a chance and fail at something you love? So you live once, bet on yourself, go for it. And that's really it. Just, my dream is to empower as many people as possible to becoming business owners.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.